Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
A catalogue of disaster. That's the damning verdict of a report into the refurbishment of the Olympic Stadium, now the home of West Ham. The initial build for the Games cost around £400 million. Then there was the additional £323 million to convert it into a stadium suitable for football. Now it's been revealed that the taxpayer could continue to lose up to £20 million a year. Our political editor, Tim Donovan, reports.
It was the centrepiece of a successful sporting event with high drama on the track and at the time few problems off it. Today, 5 years on, it is being used by a Premier League football club, a sporting legacy ensured. But the lucky tenants West Ham don't own the stadium. It was kept in public hands, with costs and liabilities borne by the taxpayer. The big headache was making athletics and football fit in one place, having seating you could put in and take out. It was Boris Johnson who sealed the West Ham deal, but what was first estimated to cost £190 million has actually cost £320 million, and the current mayor blames his predecessor.
And it beggars belief. It's staggering. The numbers of bungled decisions made by the previous mayor, a failure to properly understand the cost of transforming the stadium from an athletic stadium to a football stadium. Why should the London taxpayer be subsidising a Premier League club? Why should taxpayers from around the country be subsidising on an annual basis of up to £20 million a multi-purpose venue?
That £20 million is the loss the stadium is heading for this year, rather than a small annual profit promised. The accountants also say that West Ham should have been asked to pay more than the £2.5 million a year in rent. Their report says the former mayor made things worse by insisting on Rugby World Cup games being staged here in 2015, delaying preparations of the stadium for football. Boris Johnson wouldn't say anything directly today, but a close ally said no other city has an Olympic legacy like London's, a secure future with athletics and football. The mistakes belong to Khan's Labour predecessor Ken Livingstone and the Blair government. Signing off on a stadium fit only for athletics was a massive error. Sentiments echoed by one of those who ran Boris Johnson's Olympic legacy organisation for a while.
Of course the costs have been higher, but has anybody behaved badly about this? No, what they've tried to do, and what Boris tried to do, was rescue a bad situation. And actually, when you look at it, what's the turnout, the outturn of it all, is a very successful stadium that attracts lots of people and is very well used, by complete contrast to the Olympic stadiums that you see in most other Olympic cities.
The history of the Olympic movement has been littered with sorry stories of failed legacies and unused facilities. That hasn't happened here, though it's come at a cost. With the mayor taking over full control now, Newham Council will not be getting back £40 million they invested.
Of course it's regrettable that we've lost some of that money and we aren't getting it back, but actually we always planned that this was going to be a regeneration project, and we've got a fantastic stadium and a fantastic park, and it's also benefiting the rest of Newham.
There is a visible legacy taking shape, but some decisions are now looking dubious with hindsight, a situation, some argue, where no deal for a bit longer might have been better than a bad deal. Tim Donovan, BBC London News.
Well, let's hear more now about the response from West Ham. Our reporter Chris Slake is outside the London Stadium. Chris.
Well, West Ham have pointed out this contract is watertight and legally binding. It's a contract that will see them continue to pay £2.5 million a year in rent for the next 97 years. Come the year 21-15, if we're still playing football at that point, they will have paid just under £250 million in rent. If these losses continue to accrue at this rate, the taxpayer would have lost £2 billion by that point. To put this all into some context, West Ham made £116 million last year in TV money alone. So when Sadiq Khan asked that question today, whether it's right that the taxpayer should continue to subsidise a wealthy Premier League club, he's perhaps trying to put a bit of a moral obligation on West Ham to look again at this deal. Well, they are in no mood to renegotiate. They did the best deal for their club and they're going to stick by that. We've spoken to one of the leading West Ham supporters groups today, and many of those fans are not happy with the move here anyway. They say they preferred life at Upton Park, and their fear is that even if you could persuade the club to pay a bit more money, that some of those costs would simply be passed on to the supporters anyway.
The club got a good deal, the supporters didn't. They were promised a world to move there. The report shows clearly that the expectations that were put forward by the club were never going to be matched. The report makes quite clear that there was going to be vast distances from the pitch. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of West Ham supporters wouldn't want to pay a penny more for the stadium because it's not a football stadium.
So a key question now is where can any savings be made to reduce this £20 million loss a year? Well, as we said, West Ham are not going to renegotiate themselves. One of the suggestions in this report is that you could not move the East Stand every year. Moving the seats in and out for athletics is costing £10 million a year. They say maybe leave the East Stand in place. That would save a bit of money, but it would look lopsided, which might not please broadcasters and sponsors. Another suggestion in this report, don't hold athletics here anymore at all. That, of course, is not going to happen. That would break the key Olympic legacy promise, albeit the promise that got us into this mess in the first place. Where could money be made? Well, there's still no naming rights sponsor here. That's not down to West Ham. That is the LLDC's responsibility. They failed in the past to tie up deals with Vodafone and with Mahindra. The LLDC would be entitled to keep the first £4 million of any deal. West Ham would take 40% of anything above that, and it has taken an awful long time, a surprisingly long time, to attract a sponsor here. That is surely a priority.
OK, Chris, with the latest there from the London Stadium, thank you. Chris Legg there.